So with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X making their debut next year, holiday 2020, I wanted to take a look back at this generation and really dig into why I believe gaming has been steadily going downhill. But I feel like I need to preface this video by saying that even though I believe this has been the worst generation in gaming history since the NES, I don't want to overlook some of the most amazing gaming experiences that I think we've ever had. Uncharted 4, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, in some cases, in some people's opinions, games like Death Stranding. I'm not saying that every game we've had in the last 6-7 years has been abysmal, but what I am saying is the overall broad stroke paintbrush of this gen versus last versus the one before it versus the one before it, it's been steadily getting worse and worse, and this one has so far, in my opinion, been the worst we've ever had. My name is Bigfry. Let's get into it. If you guys have any opinions while watching this video, I urge you post them down below. I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say. So I think one of the first reasons why this has been the worst generation in gaming history is because developers and publishers no longer want to take risk when it comes to creating new IPs and new franchises. When we look back and we see the investments that some of these studios have made in games in generations previous, games like BioShock, which went on to form, BioShock 2, BioShock Infinite, games like Mass Effect, you guys know the franchises that I'm talking about, Mass Effect, Killzone, Gears of War. You had all of these huge, and I'm talking like behemoth franchises being created last generation, which we have seen sequels spawn that have taken us into this generation. Games like Halo 5 coming out in what was it, 2015. It happened to be trash. I'm just saying. It was probably one of the worst Halos that has released, especially when it comes to single-player campaigns, and that's a little bit unfortunate. We've seen Gears come from Gears 1, 2, 3, spawning into 4 and 5 this generation, and I've seen the downfall, in my opinion, of Gears. Even though Gears has stayed true to its formula in terms of gameplay, the gameplay has always been top-notch. If you were into Gears, you were always into Gears, but one thing I have noticed is the storyline and the narrative of those games have all gone completely downhill. It started with 1, 2, 3. Now, granted, Gears isn't the epitome of writing, but when you had Marcus and Dom and Cole and now you just have characters that nobody gives a shit about. And I'm just going to say it straight up, nobody cares. Even though I like some of the voice actors that work on those characters, the writing has just gone completely out the window for me. When you think back to last gen and you had games like Assassin's Creed start to come out, games like Left 4 Dead, Resistance being a launch title which went on to spawn a whole bunch of more sequels, games like Uncharted, you had so many genre-defining behemoth franchises that were created. And when you think about this generation, we had a few. We had Horizon Zero Dawn. We had Days Gone. We have, in my opinion, even though God of War is based on an existing character and an existing franchise, you now have the reimagining of God of War, which is going to take us into next generation. Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is already rumored to be out. Days Gone, they're working on a sequel already. So those, in my opinion, are the next behemoth franchises from this generation that have spawned in the last 6 or 7 years. But what else is there? We have Bloodborne, which everybody is looking towards the sequel for that. You have the Star Wars Battlefront franchise, which I don't really know where that's going in the future. I have no idea. And then you have games which I don't know are going to spawn sequels. Games like Order 1886. I think Dying Light, they're going to be continuing that franchise as well. But I mean, really, I'm now struggling to try to recall all of the games that are going to go on to become multi-billion-dollar franchises. Destiny is going to be one of those. Now we have the change with the free-to-play and Bungie actually owning the IP. Good on them. But yeah, also games like Anthem, which came out this year. That ain't looking good. And I mean, the simple fact is when we're talking about Game of the Year, with the Game Awards this year, the fact that Resident Evil 2 Remake is one of the games that is up for Game of the Year, a remake of a game that came out, 20 years ago? Ugh. The state of that isn't really that good. And I'm not saying these games are good games. I'm just saying that back in the day, last gen and the gen before that with the PS2, there were so many more of them. This industry has completely eradicated the AA experience, and you see companies like THQ Nordic who are putting out games in that AAA space, games that are never going to win Game of the Year, but games that aren't bad. They aren't bad by any means. They might actually come out and be priced a little cheaper than that AAA Naughty Dog style game, but they're there. And THQ Nordic is one of those companies that I have to just tip my hat to, because they are the ones that are pushing the envelope in that space that is between the 8-bit pixel indie games that we see every single fucking day on Steam and that AAA top tier Horizon, God of War, Naughty Dog style game. And that needs to be built up again, in my opinion, because to be honest with you, these people aren't willing to put the risk in anymore. They don't want to make new franchises that the attachment rate isn't going to be as high. It's a risk. They're spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on marketing, which is going to be my next point. They're spending all of this money to build games that, if it's not an established franchise, the risk involved is immeasurable. And that's a scary thing. When we're talking about an entertainment medium, which is gaming as a whole, how it's bigger than movies, music, every other piece of entertainment in this world is not as big as gaming, and there's still that amount of risk involved. And the fact that these people don't want to spend that extra $1 million on marketing, because that'll cut into salaries and cut into CEO, Christmas bonuses, that's when it gets a little scary. But I want to talk about marketing as well, because we always hear terms thrown around. Destiny's marketing budget was something like $50 million, just millions upon millions of dollars being pumped into marketing for all of these games. And when I think back to some of the biggest games that have come out, when you take a look at Red Dead Redemption 2, and you look at the marketing campaign for that, they did trailers, they did the downtown LA during E3, they did the banners and all this stuff. They took over like complete buildings and shit like that. Was it necessary? Was that budget for Red Dead Redemption 2 necessary to get the words out to the masses? When you take a look at what they initially did, when they just changed their, I believe it was their Facebook banner or their YouTube logo, and they just changed it red, and in the next 24 hours, you saw the internet collectively implode on itself. Every single site, YouTuber, Twitch streamer was talking about the fact that Red Dead Redemption 2 was coming out. If you play games, you know that Red Dead Redemption 2 was coming out. The day after it wasn't even announced, all they did was change a color. And you look at how the internet can carry information. You look at Apex Legends and how nobody even knew the game existed until the day it came out. And all they had to do was pay some Twitch streamers to play it. Guys like Shroud, Ninja, Courage, Dr. Disrespect. You get them, you spend maybe a couple million collectively amongst all of them, be like, hey, play this for a week. Boom, drop that shit and go. Yeah, it's expensive, but it isn't banners in LA expensive. It isn't radio and fucking TV ad expensive. You create a trailer, you create a little bit of marketing buzz, and you just pay people to talk about it, play it, stream it, whatever the case is. And that's your marketing now. And I think a lot of these companies aren't using content creators to the full extent that they could use them. The tool there for promotion is insane. And a lot of these companies still just don't look at it as a valuable asset. In my opinion, I think it's the most valuable asset. And I think if you could allocate those funds to somewhere else and not spend so much on marketing and still get your word out there and still sell 1 million copies, 2 million, 3 million, in my opinion, you'd be golden. But when you think back to all of these people who have been put into positions to run these multi-billion-dollar companies who don't even play games, who aren't connected like that, who don't think like that. You think of Blizzard, and when Blizzard came out on the scene and they were making Warcraft and then World of Warcraft, Blizzard in 2004 is so different than the Blizzard of today. And you can look at the people who were there at the beginning and the people who aren't there now, and who is in charge there, and deals they've made, the fact they've combined with Activision, Bobby Kotick running the show. You look at all these people who just don't play games. And the thing about this is something that I could talk about for years and years and years and keep blowing smoke and keep talking, and it's never going to change. And that is another big contributor to the fact that this has been the worst generation in gaming history. When we look at games as a service being introduced, we had microtransactions last gen. They started in what, 2006, 2007, and they increased and increased. And I think in 2013 is when the industry was like, you know what, shove it down their fucking throats. Now we have games as a service, which is, in my opinion, just a AAA spin on early access. You buy a game in an early state that doesn't have all the content in there, and you watch it get developed for the next 2 or 3 years and hope it turns out good. Destiny got lucky. Anthem didn't. Fallout 76 didn't. So you have the AAA version of the indie cesspool early access, only now we're paying $60, $70, $80, $90 for a game that is essentially not even completed. And it's funny when you think about that, the early access program for Steam was actually also started in 2013. 2013 was when the industry decided to just shit itself. I'm gonna pull the shotgun out, cock it, and just aim it at my chin. Only this time, you look at how volatile the industry is and how easy it is for a developer to do everything right and still fail. And look at the money that is being pumped and fed into this industry. It is sitting on a house of cards. It is so volatile. The fact that companies like BioWare could be up on the chopping block is all the tell you need to say that this is the worst generation in history. Now, what I will say is, for all of the people who play single-player games, who are PlayStation fans, you guys kind of had it made this year. There were a lot of games that dropped for that single-player crowd, the narrative-driven crowd. And you guys are getting Last of Us. You guys are getting Last of Us 2 next year. What else is coming? Cyberpunk is coming next year. So next year, I think we're actually going to have quite a few games on our plate. We have Ghost of Tsushima, and then we have the launch titles, whatever the case is, for the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. I was about to say Xbox One, but the new Xbox. I don't know. I don't expect them to have anything for launch titles, really. I'm kind of nervous. Everyone's like, are you excited for next gen? And I have no reason to be. I've literally just watched this industry just shit itself and start making some of the worst fucking games on the planet, start making some of the best games on the planet. But at the same time, when you look at the money being fed into it, there's no excuse for games like Anthem. There's no excuse for games like Fallout 76. There's no reason why Game of the Year nominees should be a remake of a game that came out 20 fucking years ago. There's no reason for it. Not saying Resident Evil isn't a good game, but when that's the standard, I think at that point we really just need to evaluate what the hell is going on. When we look at the multiplayer space, multiplayer shooters and competitive games, there were more solid shooters, multiplayer FPS games that dropped between 2007 and 2009 than the entirety of this generation. Just my opinion. Now, we can look at sales and we can say, oh yeah, but I mean, Call of Duty sold so much this year and last year and the year before that. Yeah, that's because more and more people are becoming gamers, because this platform and this medium is growing. Now, one thing I will say about this generation is there have been some developers who have been trying to create this MMO light experience, games like Destiny, games like Division, these open MMO play with your friend type experience, the social experiments for gaming. And I really think that those ideas need to be fleshed out a lot more moving forward, because I feel like in terms of multiplayer, that's where the games do need to go. But I still feel when I look at games like Division and I look at games like Destiny, I still feel like they're limited in scope. And I would love to see those expanded upon with new tech, new experiences and new adventures. I want to see that next generation. I'm a multiplayer guy. You guys know it. If you watch the channel, you know I'm a multiplayer person. And I really do enjoy MMOs. I love playing World of Warcraft Classic. I started playing Star Citizen very recently. I started playing Path of Exile today. I jumped back in. I'm like, damn. These are games that I really enjoy playing with people, the social aspect of it, but it just, I don't know. There's something about the games that were released this gen that just didn't hold me. Division and Destiny. And I mean, obviously, games like Anthem aren't going to hold anybody, not even their developers at this rate. But that's just something that I'm going to be looking forward to, or looking for, to see if it's actually going to happen next generation. But let me know what you guys think down below. I know I rambled a little bit. I wanted to make this kind of an organized video, tried to flow it a little bit. But I think that when we just look at how many games were released that were like market defining, market selling behemoths, you can see that every concurrent generation just has less and less. And that was kind of the main point of my video 3 years ago. And that video still stands true going into next generation. Am I excited for E3? You bet your ass. Am I excited for CES? It is just announced, literally as I was recording this, that Sony is going to be having their CES presentation 2020. The future is coming. This is happening in January 6th, 2020, so very, very soon. If you guys want to, I'm going to try and stream that over on Twitch so we can try to see the unveiling of the PS5. I'm guessing that's what this is going to be. January 6th, 2020. Hopefully we can maybe see some launch titles to see what kind of games we're going to be seeing. That is the main focus for me moving forward. I don't give a flying fuck about how many teraflops of DDR whatever the hell is in these boxes. I just want to know what games you are bringing to the table, because that's all that matters. Xbox really needs to bring it. They can do Game Pass all they want. If your new games aren't doing anything, you aren't winning. PlayStation, I want to see move back into the multiplayer sphere, as well as supporting studios that are making these single-player behemoths. I think games like Warhawk and Mag, and even Resistance 2 having 64 players, games like SOCOM, I think that there is a market for multiplayer shooters that aren't Call of Duty and fucking Battlefield every single year. And I want to see Sony get back to that, as well as support, like I said, their God of Wars and Horizons and Death Strandings and Bloodborns and Sekiros and all of these other amazing single player games. Let's see what happens next generation. Let me know what you guys think. We're going into 2020 soon. I know I haven't uploaded in a week. I wanted to come back with a banger of a video, a little discussion piece. I want to see what you guys have to say in the comments below. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you are following me on Twitch. I stream every single day over there in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon or the evenings as well. Click the link down below. Go follow me over there. It's very interactive. We have a good time. I appreciate you guys watching. Leave a like on the video if you enjoy it. Subscribe, do all the cool things, and I'll see you on the next one.